People are going to be joining, dropping the slides in the chat. So you guys have the slides. Oh gosh, and it definitely has a typo there. Sorry. It should say slides instead of slidities or whatever it says. So my fingers are faster than my brain sometimes, and then I hit send. All right, so slides in the chat, February PLC, lots to go over. All right, so this is kind of the agenda. Again, always way too full for the time that we have. I know I read in the last feedback that I give you guys lots of information and that sometimes it can be overwhelming. And I definitely appreciate that feedback. I wish there was a way around it. There just is always so much that we have to go over. But feel like you can tune me out if you need to, because you can always come back to the video to watch this later. I always send a follow-up with the agenda items. It's always on the website. So if you're ever feeling like, this is just overwhelming amount of information, don't stress about having to remember everything I say. There's resources for you to, find this information later. And one of them is this website here where we have the resource site. Everything is up to date. I try to post the slides of the day that we're going to do before. So like yesterday, I posted slides for today. I didn't do that in December. I feel like it was a little bit busy or something. I don't remember what happened in December, or maybe January, but I did post the slides ahead of time on that website. So you guys can kind of review it even ahead to kind of get, look at it and see what's happening and have questions or whatever ready. So remember that website exists, okay? Overdue action items. This is just a reminder to get this program of work meeting schedule in if you haven't. It's up to date here on the left, and over here, you red folks are the folks that I still need it from. And please just get that submitted as soon as you can if you see your name there. I appreciate everybody's really busy, but I do need that for grant purposes just to show that you guys have meetings and that sort of thing. So I always like to start with the calendar review because that's kind of the upcoming stuff that's going to expire soon. And the big things that we have sort of on the agenda right now are the last competitions of the year are happening. They are the last chance to qualify for nationals. And the newest thing that I'm going to share with you guys is that they are anybody that competes and makes the top 10 in Maryland will get free registration to the Maryland conference. So the last chance for you to have your students get free registration to come to the Maryland conference. So that could be really exciting. You could have, all of your competitors that have competed throughout the school year will get to come to the Maryland conference for free. So that is super exciting. So if you have, and there's two locations. There's one in Worcester County, which is on the other side of the bridge from some of us, and some of us are on the other side of the bridge. But if you can make it over there, then that's a location. And most of the same competitions are being competed at both locations, not exactly the same. And then also in Howard County. Just note that the location for the Howard County competition has changed. It was going to be at the main Howard County library, which I think might have been in Columbia, but now it is going to be held in Cooksville, Maryland. So you can see that address is here listed here. So a lot of important dates. So make sure that February 14th is the deadline for the competition, signing up for a time slot and then submitting your competition pre-score items. So, make sure that the last effort you have to get into the competitions is going to be this competition. After that, we don't have any more competitions and we'll be focusing on nationals. So if you have a situation where you have second semester students that have started that were different than your first semester students, please make sure that you get those memberships into into the portal and get them registered as members before well, it says early bird registration, but I think I put out, we'll talk about that later. I forget what it is. It's the 15th, I think. We have state officer applications are open. And again, we're going to talk about this in just a second, but anybody that applies to be a state officer will also get free registration to the Maryland conference. So that is definitely enticement to have your kids apply for that. reasoning for both of those is that the Maryland State Conference is where we celebrate the winners, and we want to make sure that your contestants are able to go for free, so they will get the free registration if they competed. And then also we will be announcing our state officers in front of everyone, and so we want those state officer applicants to be there so that they can be recognized as the incoming state officer, and we're having like a little ceremony for them, like a little passing of the blazer and that sort of thing. So those are two new things, that items that are kind of enticements to try to get your kids to apply for that state officer position. I want grant participant state officers. So I'm telling you right now, if you need any support in getting any of your kids to convince to be a state officer, we want our students. I have seen the portfolios of these students for merit. I have seen your kids in action, and there are so many of them that need to be state officers. And Lynette, I'm talking to you. So make sure you get those kids to apply to be state officers, because there are some amazing students out there. And I have just, I'm in awe that we need representation from across the state. So please make sure that your students apply to be a state officer. Only 10 can be chosen, but we want a large pool of candidates from across the entire state. So don't let that, deter them from applying. Okay. And then it is Educators Rising Week this week. We didn't do a big shebang or do anything really planned for that. I think next year we'll try to do something, but with all of this snow and most of you guys just getting back to school this week and in like a full day capacity, it just was not in the cards for us to do anything. But you can do, maybe you do stuff in your own, in your own schools. Please send me information about that if you do. A lot of people do a little promotion of Ed Rising kind of as a recruitment thing. They do a celebration of teachers in the building, that sort of thing. Next year we'll make a better plan and be on top of that. The snow days just kind of like backed us all up. I feel like that you guys weren't even in school in January. Like I know you feel like you were to some extent, but I feel like I haven't had access to you for almost all of January. So it's just been a crazy month. And usually, I just have to side note this, usually January feels like the longest work month of the year. For whatever reason, I feel like January just drags on in my years of teaching. And this year it just flew by. And that's great because we had all those snow days, right? So maybe February will feel long. I don't know. So yeah, oh, there it is. Spring semester membership enrollment, the date is the 15th. So if you have new students for Ed Rising, and you haven't used up your 15 paid, code, items, register people before the 15th to get them into the system. The Honor Society application opens on the 17th. There's a lot of dates here. Again, don't remember these. Don't feel overwhelmed. Just come back to this if you need to, okay? And then you guys we do have a meeting with Libby, the state coordinator, on the 12th at 3:30. I've said before, it's important to attend that meeting as a Maryland teacher leader. However, most of the information that you will get there is the same information you get from this meeting. So as a grant participant, it is not entirely required that you attend that. Just know that once I disappear, or if I disappear, you will need to attend that meeting to get any information, okay? Always my spiel. Okay, and then dates to know in March. There will be no competitions, but there will be two meetings, our meeting, and then Libby will have another meeting, kind of, just prepping up for getting ready for state conference and that sort of thing. The deadline for the PDK Ed Rising Scholarship is in March. National Conference Scholarship, actually that's open now. So we will talk about that in a second, but that's the wrong date. I should have updated that. Oh boy, what did I do? Go back to March, sorry. So National Conference Scholarships, that is where you can apply to get the registration fee paid by the grant and to get competitors that placed in the top 10 can get funding for going to nationals. Oh yeah, let me share this slide. Sorry, some of you just came in. That is, if you have competitors that placed in the top 10, then they should apply for this scholarship, okay? There's a chance that they could get a significant amount of, it's Skills USA Week as well, nice. A significant amount of money towards going to nationals. So make sure your students apply for that scholarship. The application is open now. We will get to that in just a second. Our next student-to-student session will be held in March. We're going to do a different time. I know some of you have talked about that the time that we've been doing, I think it's 3 o'clock, is not ideal. We're going to try a 1 o'clock time. And then that way you guys can try to get students in your classrooms. Like if you know ahead of time, maybe you can ask them to come in from other classes or something like that. And then set it up as like an in-house field trip. You can play it live on your screen or something like that. We'll try it and we'll see how it goes if we can get better participation. This is a great topic because this is about paying for college. So I think the kids will really be interested in this topic. So if you can get students to to come to that session, great. It's not till March, but there is going to be information about that coming. And then the scholarship closes for the National Conference Scholarship. We'll get into that in a second. Here's the information about student to student. Just, clickable links here that you can click on to get to send it out to your students to get them to register for that Zoom. You do not need to be present for the Zoom. It's usually just for the students, but we're going to have College Bound will be there to talk about the different scholarships that you guys heard about the last time when she came to talk to us. And then we're going to be having actual college students that had their college paid for in different ways come and talk about that. So since they will be in school, you can just have it playing, in the background or wherever you want to have it playing. But that's the topic. Here's the flyer that you can send out, and you click on this, it'll give you a flyer. And then just publicize that for March. So we'll try out the new time and see if that works. We're gonna kind of move it around a little just to see if we can get some more students to participate. Checking your roster. Again, just a blurb here to check your roster to make sure it matches. If for some reason it doesn't match, let me know because we want to get that cleaned up for now because we want to make sure that everybody that you think is an advising member is actually an advising member, especially because we're going to be registering for nationals, events and that kind of stuff. So if they aren't listed attached to you, or if they're not listed as members, we need to fix that. So check your roster and let me know if it doesn't match. Okay. So like it might say you have 9 students on your roster, but you really know that you registered your 15. Just give me a list of the students that aren't showing up and I can get them. I can figure out what's happening. They may be floating out there in that limbo, like they didn't attach to your school or something like that, or they may not have used the code, something like that. We can get that figured out. Okay. Again, make sure you register and try to use up all those 15 spots just so that we can keep them for next year. And then by the 13th of February, competition winners, the most recent competition winners are listed here, Exploring Non-Core Teachers. I just have to do a little shout out. We're going to do this later too, but it was held in PG County. It was our first ever really in-person competition. We were supposed to have one earlier in the school year, but it got postponed. So PG County hosted our first in-person. It was remarkable. It was very well organized. Connie, shout out to Connie out there and our PG County folks. Students were there helping run and escort people to their spots. It was great. It was so well run and so much participation. So thank you for PG County for hosting that. So these are the winners for Exploring Non-Core Teacher Careers. The bold folks are well, actually, this is wrong, but you'll recognize the schools. Bold is supposed to be the schools that are grant, but there's even more grant schools on here that aren't bolded because Crossland is on here, Blake is on here, Bel Air is on here. I think the only non-grant school is Charles County School, so yay, grant schools. And then this is competition winners for the other competitions, so Exploring Admin Careers and Supporting Support Services Careers. Crossland representing there. Nice. Good job, Lynette. So Crossland represented really well there. And sometimes you might wonder why there aren't any listed in some of the other categories, like these empty boxes. Occasionally, that is because we didn't have competitors there. So take note of that so that when you choose divisions for your students to compete in, that's a good place to look. And we always look at that too at nationals to see kind of those low attended competitions so we can try to place well. And it also could mean that they didn't meet the minimum requirements for a score. So in some cases, if they don't make the minimum requirement for a top 10 placement score, they wouldn't be listed there. So that's just so you know. So if you had a student that had competed in that division and you don't see their name, that's why usually, but you can certainly ask questions if you have questions about that. Like, why is my student not listed on there? We can share with you kind of what the deal is with that, like the score and all that stuff. Moving into competitions. So I just mentioned this, but again, I want to tell you guys this. All grant students who competed and placed in the top 10 will have paid conference registration. So anybody that competed this school year and for a competition will get to go to the Maryland State Conference for free. They don't have to fill out they don't have to fill out a scholarship form. They don't have to do any, sort of paperwork. They just will get to go for free since they are top 10. So if they were listed on those charts that I just showed you, that I've been going through with the winners, then they get to come to the Maryland State Conference for free. So that is amazing. And I'm so happy the grant is doing that. Main reason or one of the great reasons is because we want them to be celebrated at the award ceremony there, and we want to make sure that they can attend. Right now, the conference t-shirt contest is happening. The deadline for this is the 12th. Please encourage your students to do this. I know that they may think, oh, what is this all about? We haven't gotten the amount of, applications or contestants that we usually get. And this is such a fun sort of competition to be because your student's artwork is on the Maryland t-shirt. And it's just so cool because we all end up wearing that t-shirt for years. Like I have all of my past Maryland t-shirts, and then, it's just kind of fun to have your student's artwork on there. And it's super nice for your student to kind of say, oh, there's my artwork on all those t-shirts that they see, at the conference. So, they also get recognized at the conference as well. So please have them apply to do this because this is such a fun, artistic, creative, um, you know, competition to be a part of. And they really don't have to do any of the other competition stuff like that, 6 pages of requirements. They just fill out a Google form and attach their artwork. So please spread the news on this one. I know you have a ton of artistic kids in your classes. So this would be right up their alley. Okay. So here's more details about February competitions, the list of competitions that will be held. Note that this location change has happened. It was going to be at the main Howard County Library. Now it is moved to Cooksville, Maryland, which I don't know. I don't think it's far from where that one was, but they had more space available at that one, so we have moved so note that address if you were planning to attend and kind of had made plans to attend, especially for bus transportation or however you were planning to do it, or even just getting that information out to your students. Make sure they know the new address, okay? And then reminder, the deadline for this is February 14th for all pre-scoring. Here's some information about state officers. Again, I want you all to think one or two people. I right now I know you have leaders in your chapter that could be great candidates for state officer. So, convince, bribe, I don't know what you want to do, but have at least one student from your school apply to be a state officer. I would love representation from all of our grant schools and to have, just that sort of all county representation. We tend to have several from one school. So we've had 2 or 3 every year from Clarksburg when I was there. And I'd love to kind of spread it out a little bit more so that there's 1 or 2 from, all over the state. So let's just try to get as many state officer candidates as possible. When you click on this, it'll bring you to the state officer application. And then this next slide gives you the job description and the timeline of everything. They also will receive free registration to the Maryland Conference. So everybody that applies to be a state officer will get to come to the Maryland Conference for free. And again, the reasoning for that is that they will be announced live in front of everybody. We want those state officers to be at that conference. They will be announced at the state conference. So anybody that applies will get to come to the conference for free. So not just if you get chosen, but if you apply. So please consider that in your process, of planning for the Maryland Conference. We're going to move right into the Maryland Conference. Here is the flyer for the Maryland Conference. When you click on it, it will bring you to a flyer that you can share. And then we have a sponsorship packet. And I would love to have help in this and support in making this conference the best conference that we've ever had. Funding is depleting kind of around the state and even in our conference funds. So we have started this year to do some sponsorship packages for people. So if you know people that would like to, businesses in your area, maybe you have a Goddard school that you have your students work in, or that do internships in, or even like a family childcare center, or anything that business that would love to support upcoming teachers or rising teachers. Please share this packet with them. Send them an email. When you click on that packet, it has all the details about the different sponsorship levels and sponsorship. It even has a sample letter that you can use. So it's pretty much all, drawn out for you. And it gives them a link that they could show interest. So you don't even have to manage anything in between. They can just kind of contact us directly. I would love to ask, each of you guys to just ask one person or one organization. I know you have, partners in your local areas. It would be great to have representation from around the state at this conference as well. So please, consider spreading the word about sponsorship so that we can continue to have every year there's fear that we may not get the funding for the conference that we need to put that on. And so, if we start to have sponsors, then that can help us, so make sure that this conference continues for longevity. So here is the registration information, obviously, to register the conference. Again, anybody that placed in the top 10 competitors will get to go to the conference for free. This is the registration. It is now open, so you can click on this and register. Teachers can register their students, or the students can go in and register themselves. I think you can register, I forget what the website says, but I think you can register up to like 20 people at a time. This system, I haven't tried it yet, but this system is supposed to be easier to register than the last system that we've used. It's a new, I don't know, software or program that we're using for conference registration. So hopefully it is a little bit easier than it has been in the past. It just seemed like tedious last time. You had to go from screen to screen. But anyway, hopefully it is. Anybody that's done it, please let me know. National conference. And also back on the Maryland conference, if you have a particular date that you really want to attend, Thursday or Friday, I don't have preschool students on Fridays. We really do have to attend on Fridays. It makes it easier for me not to have a sub, blah, blah, blah. You might want to try to register early, because each of those days, there's no guarantee that you'll get into either of those days. As it starts to get closer to the deadline, they fill up, the days fill up, and then the other day is the only option. Especially if you have 50 kids that you're going to be bringing or something like that. And we need space for the 50 students that you're going to bring. So make sure you register early. So that's just a note on that. If you register by April 1st, if you register before April 1st, you get a free t-shirt. If you register after April 1st, the t-shirt is not included in the registration. And that's because we have to order those t-shirts and make sure we have enough. Every year we have had issues with running out of t-shirts. So make sure that you register before April 1st. Otherwise, your students do not get a t-shirt. And the t-shirt is a big highlight. I think it's it's always really fun to get the t-shirt. National conference updates. So this is all the information about national conference. Registration for that has opened. Registration for you guys, anybody that's planning to go to nationals needs to register before April 6th. That is the early bird registration. You technically can register after that. However, we don't want anybody to register after that, because that's when you have to register to compete. So regardless, you have to register before April 6th. There is an application for, like I said, the National Conference Scholarship. This is the timeline of the scholarship. You can see the registration is open now. Any of your students that have competed and made it in the top 10 should apply for this scholarship. Do not, even if they place 10th or, whatever, have them apply for this scholarship to go to nationals. This will guarantee that they get their registration paid for by the grant, and they could get extra money from the Maryland Ed Rising grant, or scholarship. Oh my gosh, National Scholarship Fund. So make sure that they apply. This will help them to pay for going to nationals. It could, in some cases in the past, it has paid for the entire amount of them going to the conference. We don't know for sure exactly how many students will be going this year. So we don't know exactly how much money, how we're going to divide the money up, or how Libby's going to divide the money up. But it's going to pay for a big chunk. The amount could be anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000 in grant money that goes to people that apply for this. That is could significantly cover the entire cost, or most of the cost of going to nationals. So please make sure that your competitors are applying for this grant. Now, that being said, you also need to make sure that they are able to go to nationals, right? So if they're applying for this scholarship, that intention is that they will be going to nationals, that they're available, that they don't have a family reunion and the last minute they're going to, skip out, or they're not going to go, because we don't want to award this scholarship to people that cannot go to nationals this summer. So make sure that you are advertising this and that your students fill this out. Some of you, or all of you, I think, should have got an email about the training center being released. It is going to be a new system of how we do sort of the basic training in some of that curriculum training and that sort of stuff. So you were invited to be sort of pre-viewers of that. It is not a live situation yet. It has only been given out to a few organizations, and the Maryland grant participants were one of those people, one of those groups of people that they sent it out to. So if you have taken a look at it, if you want to take a look at it, there is some feedback that they want by February 28th. You don't even have to open it if you don't want to. But if you happen to and you want to give some feedback on it, that is what they're trying to try to seek in this early sort of pilot review of it. They want to make sure they work out any kinks or quirks before it goes live to everybody in national. So just know that exists and that you can give us feedback, and that would be greatly appreciated. Okay, NEA micro credentials. I had put in the newsletter about this possibility for you guys to earn micro credentials for free. And we're always looking, I know teachers are always looking for those CPD credits and stuff for that, either for a lane change or for just, for our certifications, that sort of thing. What has happened in the meantime from newsletter to today is that some of the information I had given out was given to me incorrectly. So when you look at this link here, you'll see that it takes you to a micro-credential library and not to the initial two courses that I had stated in the newsletter. So if you didn't look at it in the newsletter, just ignore that. But if you are interested in this, what you need to do is you need to go to this link. Actually, here, let me show you. Here are the directions of what you need to do, okay? If you are an NEA member, and this is how you can tell if you're an NEA member, like over here on the right of this one. So how it works in our county is if you're part of the MCEA, which is like our local teacher organization, or basically our union, right? Our county teacher union or association, MCEA. Then we're automatically part of the Maryland one, which is what is it? MSEA, Maryland State Education Association. And then because we're part of Maryland, we're automatically NEA members, right? So essentially, if you're part of your local organization in your county, your local education association, whatever it is, Carroll County Education Association, whatever it is, then you should probably be an NEA member. And how you know is you should get one of these little guys, right? This NEA Today magazine. I get one every month. And it actually has my membership number on the address code. So if you have no idea what your membership is, you never looked at NEA, I'm not saying I did that, because wink, wink, I have never done that. I was able to find my NEA education number there. So here's the thing. It's free if you're an NEA member. If you are not an NEA member and you want to do these credentials, you just need to let me know. And I think there's a code that we can give you so that you can get those credentials for free. Okay. So that's just kind of the nutshell of this. Email me with more questions on this. This is the directions on how to do it. You don't have to pay anything until you've completed your sort of your micro credential. The micro credential for this is called coaching and mentoring, and it does give you CPD credits. It also gives you like this silly little badge, kind of similar to my nationals badge up there that you can put on your resume or your LinkedIn or something. These little micro credential badges that people are all vying for. I'm not a big LinkedIn person yet, but I know that that's like the thing that people covet, are these little badges to put on your screens. It does cost $75 if you're not an NEA member, but again, if you are part of the grant, we can get that waived for you. So please let me know if that is something you're interested in, and I can figure out how we do that. Merit program. Please, please, please have your students apply to be a merit intern. I know that this is a big ask for students. They're concerned about the portfolio, they're concerned about the time. But if you have access to preschoolers, if you're a teacher that has preschoolers in your building, or you have your students in any sort of internship or any sort of time with a teacher, with any sort of time in a classroom with students, have them apply for this. I don't want to lose this money. We don't have near where we need to have to spend all the money that they've allotted for this grant. And again, it's like line items. So you have to spend it on the things that are, designated for. So I want to make sure these $500, stipends get into the pockets of students. So please encourage your students to apply for this. It's not necessarily difficult to get chosen. There are a few criteria and there are reasons why we haven't chosen students in the past. But for the most part, if you suggest that they do this, then they should be completely approved to be a merit intern. The deadline is February 13th, again, coming up soon. It is not a difficult application for them to complete. So please have them apply. That being said, anybody that has applied, and anybody that is thinking about having students apply, you need to know these dates, okay? Your students have to attend mandatory orientations that we have to go over the portfolio and all that stuff. And teachers need to attend as well. So even if you've attended last fall, you need to attend a spring date. When you click on these links, it'll bring you to a registration to sign up for one of those dates. You just choose one. And then you can also click on this spring applicant list here. And that list is everybody, the date will show, I think it was like maybe earlier this week, maybe end of last week, of all the applicants that have applied. So you will know if you're, pegged as an applicant teacher based on who's applied, okay? So you can take a list of the applicant list and see, oh, okay, so these are my students that applied, or hey, Joey said he was going to apply and he hasn't applied. So you'll see who I have so far from the date. If they applied after that date, it hasn't been updated yet. Okay, this is mandatory and super important. This gives them access to the portfolio. It gives them instructions. It gives them contact information for me to ask questions. It is super important for you so that you know kind of what you need to manage on your side of the portfolio. The reason why you need to attend again for this session is because things have changed from the fall. I took fall feedback from our students and implemented them already for the spring portfolio. There was some really good feedback from these students. They're the ones completing it. They are the ones that know. And I took that into account. I've changed the portfolio and I've changed some of the requirements to be a little easier for those students. So I've put that into action right away. So we're going to see some differences in the spring portfolio than the fall portfolio. So it's important that we all attend, even if you were a part of the spring cohort, and even if your students were a part of the spring cohort, they have to attend this, okay? So note these dates for anybody that is thinking about doing the merit program. Again, this is some details about the merit program. If you're still quite confused about what the heck I'm talking about on this, you can watch a slide deck, you can watch a video with a teacher session of me going over everything. Here is the flyer you can give to your students that tells them, hey, apply, Mrs. McKenzie is desperate for applicants. Apply for your $500. And then there's the link to the application. So please make sure that we don't leave that money on the table. You know how these grants work. If we don't use up that money, they want to take it away. I think I can probably most likely carry it over to the next year, but who knows? You never know with these organizations. This is the Department of Labor, and I want to just make sure we have that. All right. Okay. Around Maryland this week or this month, I am focusing on PG County. This is some photos from the PG County event. Great event. We had in-person competitions, a ton of competitors, really great. I was in some of those sessions and heard those students, and I get so excited when I see them compete, and when I just get to see students in general. That's how again I say that I miss teaching high school and teaching these pathways, and this gives me that little bit to keep going because I miss being in the classroom sometimes so much that I feel like, oh, I don't know. But then I get to see these guys and I'm like, okay, that'll carry me through till the conference. But they were amazing. Some of these presentations were just outstanding. And I'm super excited about our nationals competitors this year. I think we're going to do so well. I think the changes we made in the pre-scoring and all the items, having them do this ahead of time and enter all this stuff ahead of time, even before they register, is going to carry them through to nationals, to make them represent even better at nationals. So, and we've had some great competitors at nationals. I just think we're going to have an outstanding this year. So this is some fun photos about that competition. Some students here, some teacher leaders. Here's Lynette represented, and her admin, her assistant principal came to support, actually to come and sit in on a student presentation, which was actually really phenomenal. A student shadowed him as part of her competition. She did, admin careers, and he wanted to see her compete. So he sat in the back of the room while she presented about her time with him. And he was super impressed. He was just impressed in general. But he's got a great community of rising educators there. So it's really phenomenal. And so this is just some views of that. I thought it was really a great event. Whew, take a breath. Okay. I want to share something kind of fun. I don't usually get to share ideas about lessons for your students or, ideas for you. And this is something that I have done in the past in my classroom. And I feel like, this time of year is a time of year when we kind of need to kind of refresh our, might be getting a little tired, although we don't usually have another week off of school in January. But January, like I said, is usually the longest month for me in teaching. You get that change in students and you have to reestablish all of those routines and all of that stuff, right? So you have like kind of a new bunch of kids or a new bunch of students or however, your semester system works. And this is something that, raise your hand, I guess, like give me a little emoji if you've heard of the marigold effect. If anybody has seen this before, I've just given you some resources here and I'm going to give you like an overview of it. This is from, I saw it first on the Cult of Pedagogy. Does anybody follow Cult of Pedagogy? Like, love that. I love, love, love the resources there. And if you don't, I don't know why this picture's not showing up, but if you don't, it is a phenomenal place to get just, I don't know, it just makes you think about your teaching career, which then you can pass on to your students who are becoming teachers. So it's an online magazine, has lots of resources. There's a blog, there's podcasts. There's a lot of resources to share with your own students. But what this is about teacher support networks, right? And it's specifically written for teacher support networks, but this applies to students in high school. And I'm going to tell you why. Because who you surround yourself, right? And it's really hard sometimes to send that message. High school students that age, they don't like to hear about, advice from us old folks, right? So who you surround yourself matters, right? As a teacher, it matters. As a professional, it matters. And even as a high schooler, as a teenager, it matters, right? Who you surround yourself. It changes the way you think about your thoughts. So that's kind of what this is. Here's the link to all the information. This thing that's not showing on my screen is actually a link to the Cult of Pedagogy. It's like, I think that's the icon for it. And then you can click on it and it links you to the Cult of Pedagogy sort of website. But here's the idea behind this. Okay. So it's an article. You can share it with your students and have them read it and then do a reflection or something about it. But marigolds, so experienced gardeners follow a concept called companion planting. And placing certain vegetables and plants near each other helps to improve the growth of one or both, right? And so rose gardeners will plant garlic near the roses because it repels the bugs. I'm not a gardener. I'm not speaking from a gardener standpoint. This is strictly from the article. I have no idea about anything about gardening. The I used to say I can keep children alive, but not plants. So I think that's good. I'm better at keeping children alive than plants. So, and among the companion plants are marigolds. And marigolds are one of the best because they provide pest control. They get rid of harmful weeds. And so if you plant a marigold next to most garden vegetables, it will grow bigger and stronger and healthier and be protected and encouraged by the marigold. Okay. So that's just a little garden fact. Walnut trees. Successful gardeners avoid planting vegetables anywhere near walnut trees, which give off a toxic substance that can inhibit growth. It wilts them and it ultimately kills whatever vegetation is near a walnut tree. Nothing really thrives near a walnut tree. Okay, just some backstory about the gardening. So in a teacher support network, you want, as a teacher, as a new teacher, you have these students going into classrooms either in for their first time, either as paraeducators or as, when they go off to college and they're doing student teaching, they're going to be struggling to find who they should kind of connect with, right? In schools, the marigolds are the supportive, encouraging teachers who help the other teachers feel confident, valued, and energized. Look for these teachers who make you feel calm, hopeful, and comfortable asking questions. Look for the marigolds. They will help you grow and thrive. They won't be negative. They won't be, the Debbie Downers, right? This applies in high school too, right? They won't realize this, but there are marigold high school students, right? The students that thrive to do better, that are leaders, that want to surround themselves with people that they envision, being successful. If you're in high school and you're hanging around walnut trees, you are not going to thrive, right? Walnut trees are the colleagues and the high school students, your peers that have toxic effects, draining energy, spreading negativity, and discouraging growth. Compared to the walnut, these are compared to walnut trees, which inhibit growth around them. So they don't want you to succeed, right? They're that best friend, quote unquote, best friend that puts you down all the time because they don't want to see you happy and thriving. And in a school system, in a work environment, they're the people that complain about the students, that resent tasks, that undermine positivity, right? That's who those walnut trees are. We want to surround ourselves with marigolds and not walnut trees. So I just wanted to share that with you because at this point in our year, we usually need to be seeking out marigolds, right? We need that positive influence to get through to the end of the year. We need that buildup from our peers and our colleagues, but also sending that message to our students that will become teachers one day will help them choose the right support system in their schools, right? And in their careers, right? It could be the same in any career. If they're going into an office job, same thing. Seek out the marigolds. It does not matter. It does not matter sort of what environment. I try to say all the time that my lessons had everything to do with teaching, but everything to do with anything you're going to do in life, right? So this is a life lesson for them and can really be a life lesson for them in high school as well, because you want them to be marigolds and you want them to surround themselves with marigolds. And I know with my three girls growing up, there were some walnut trees in their life. And those walnut trees really had an impact on my kids. And that was hard. It's hard as a parent to watch that and say, we're older and we know that's not really a best friend. That's not really a good friend. So that is something that they can learn from this lesson too. So please share that. Use it if you can. It is not an Ed Rising lesson. It is something that I've used before and something I just wanted to share at this time of year with you guys. So certainly, take what you want, leave what you don't. Grant recruitment is starting now as we speak. Been very busy with this. 26-27 grant recruitment is in full swing. I am setting up meetings with school systems to bring on new schools for next year. If you know of a school in your school district that would like to start a chapter, have them let me know. I will get them on the list. If you are currently in in the grant, you do not need to do anything to continue for next year. You will automatically be in the grant for next year. Nothing needs to be done for you. And then the February action items are listed here. You want to do the attendance sign-up sheet. That is here, and then it's going to be on the next slide too. Encourage your students to apply for merit. Did I say that enough for you guys? Encourage them to apply for merit. We need to spend this money. Um, Encourage them to do the Maryland Conference t-shirt. This is basically everything I've said in like a sentence way. So you guys can skip this whole meeting most of the time and just go right to this slide and see what you need to do. Compete in those last competitions, apply for state officers, apply for the National Conference Scholarship, sign up for the student to student, which again will be at 1 o'clock next time. And then just make plans to attend the state conference. Whatever that means for you, start planning that now because your school system will need you to do, I don't know, all that stupid paperwork, right? That you have to do. So make sure, sorry, did I say stupid? Anyway, all the paperwork that you have to do to go to a field trip, right? Parent permission, buses, blah, blah, blah. So start making those plans now. And then, you will see in our attendance sheet that I want you to tell me some sort of roadblocks you might be seeing about that. Like if you're seeing any sort of issues that you're having with that, there might be some ways I can support you with that. So please indicate that. Use the curriculum, as a resource. Here are the Merit Teacher Leader orientation dates. These are for you, Merit folks. Student orientations that they have to attend and teacher orientations that you have to attend. Links there for you to do that. Here's the link for the attendance sheet that you can either scan on your phone or click on the link to do. Next meeting is March 5th. I can't believe it's going to be March 5th, RSVP there. And that's it. Oh my gosh, we're so early this time. Yay! My speed talking paid off, right? Do we have any questions? Let me go back to this. Sorry, let me go back to this and let's leave it on there. Do we have questions from the masses here? I didn't even look in comments to see if anybody had questions along the way. Oh, wait, somebody. Oh, okay. Okay.
And then I have a question. Oh, never mind. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Oh, you don't? Okay.
Actually, okay, yes, I do. I'm sorry. So my students did the fall merit portfolio. Do they have to fill out anything now before they get started, or does it just carry over?
So what I did mention about this, that there's new components to the portfolio. So the portfolio has actually changed from the fall. So they just need to make sure they're using the newest link for that. But they don't need to fill out the stipend form again. That is going to carry them over for the next one. So anybody that's done the stipend form or done the application process, they don't need to do anything. They're as long as they're on my list, which I shared in one of the slides, there's like a list there. As long as they're on the list for the spring, then they are good to go. Okay, so just check that list on the slide that has that to make sure that that I know that they're competing for spring and that they were there for the fall. Some people had put just fall only, and so I needed to just clarify from them. A couple of them emailed me, and I made that correction. So just make sure that they are good to go. But if they did the stipend form, they're good. If they did the application, they're good. They will just need to do, obviously, the portfolio again. And I have updated it a little bit. So hopefully they will, those that gave me feedback was really, it was great feedback. And I did take into account and made some changes to the assignments and to the portfolio. So hopefully it'll be a little easier for them to complete. And they definitely have more time. So anybody that had had students that did the fall portfolio, good job. Like, I mean, amazing to you to push those students like Megan, you had a ton that did it. I know you were on top of them and you were on top of things just because I know you. Amazing job. But your students' portfolios were amazing. For such a short period of time, like they really rocked it. They're going to have so much time to do the spring one that, they're probably going to wait till the last minute. But even if they actually do it along the way, that's going to be amazing. I mean, I just was so impressed by what they could do in that short period of time. So be proud of them and then be proud of yourself for helping them get through that process. Any other questions about anything? Again, Maryland state competitors. Anybody that places top 10 gets to go to the conference for free. Anybody that applies to be a state officer gets to go to the state conference for free. Okay. So encourage them to apply to be a state officer. I know you have people in your classes right now in your chapter that could be an amazing state officer. So make sure they apply. And then anybody that competes, so your last chance to go to the Maryland conference for free would be these competitions coming up. So make sure you get in before the deadline on that. Those are kind of the big things. And the other big thing is that the competition location has changed for the Howard County competition. It is um, a different average. It's still in Howard County. It's a different address. It's not in Columbia. I think it's in Glendale or something. So I don't think they're too far from each other. But we had space concerns or space issues, and it's just going to work out a little better there. So just make sure you have that new address. If you have any questions about that, please let me know. Um, looks like put her home high school her application. Yeah, I saw that, Sherry. So I will correct that. If you can tell me, um, I'll fix it. There were a couple people that were like, where is this high school? I figured it was like that situation, like a tech high school issue. And you didn't see Mackenzie Burton. I can check on that too to see if she applied after I updated that. Because that I don't remember when I updated that, but if she applied after that, then she just didn't make it.
She actually applied the day before the my
Oh.
other student, so I'm not sure. We could not apply on our school computers, so they were doing it on their phones.
Mm.
Um, we've since been gotten the website unblocked for them to have access, or at least it was prior to this. But if you could just check because she did hers first.
So I would just say, to be honest, I would just have her do it again. I know that that's a pain in the neck. I would have her do the application again just to be sure, because to be honest, if she did it back that far back, I should have it by now. I'm going to look right now just to be sure. But I should have it if she applied way back when. And if her name isn't coming up on that, then it's likely that it didn't take for some reason. I don't,
Okay.
sometimes I don't know. I have no idea why this works the way it does. I hate to say that, like, I don't have it and you guys know that you submitted it. Like, it always feels so hard. I feel like,
Well, she sat in here with me and did it on her phone. We had to come in my office because we're not allowed to have cell phones out. But I called my principal and told her the situation. So she came in my office and did it on her phone so she could get it in. That's before the date got moved, and so we were trying to meet that deadline. But
I
so
see
it's
her
been a
here.
while. You
I
see
see her
her?
here. I see her. Yeah. So
Yay!
she just didn't make it to that like updated list I had there. So I'll make sure she gets added to that.
Okay. And she is also Dorchester Career and Technology Center, but her home high school is Cambridge South Dorchester. So sometimes that confuses the students, but I tell them just put Dorchester Career and Technology
I
Center.
figured that was
Okay.
the case because I was like, what is this weird high school? Like, I didn't know
Yes.
they were part of the
Yes.
grant.
Yeah.
Anybody else
Thank you
have
so
questions?
much.
Oh, you're welcome. No problem. Anybody else have any questions? All right. Well, I'm going to give you like the attendance sheet did not work for me. Uh-oh. Can I drop the link? Yes. Let me drop the link. Ooh, I think I can drop the link. Oh boy, what happened here? Here is the link. Hopefully it's set up. Um, so thank you guys so much for coming. Thank you for everything you're doing, and welcome back from your second winter break. I'll be here if you need me. You guys know my cell phone number. Please definitely, reach out to me if you have any questions. But big priorities are getting them to apply for merit and get this last competition in. All right. Otherwise, I'll see you guys later. Bye.
All right, bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.